Hey everybody, David Bernard here, and who dat? How about that? How about them Saints? What a start! Whew! We needed some good news. I'm going to be starting my tropical update here in just a second. Let's see, who is it that just said we need some good news? Deb Blaine said, please give us some good news. Boy, do we need good news around here. That is the truth. Barry Michaels, good to see you. Been too long. Might be heading your way in October. Remind me to send you a text. And John McIntyre, I expect nothing less than that. Good to hear from you as well. And I'll have to talk to you about Rhode Island. I went there for the first time ever this summer, and I was in Newport. So we'll have to talk about that. At any rate, obviously, guys, we're in not a good situation here in southeast Louisiana. We have got our river and bayou parishes that are suffering tremendously tonight, that even as we are now 2 weeks out from Ida, do not have power. Many areas are uninhabitable and have not gotten any better. But help is on the way. I saw the bucket trucks lined up in Lafourche Parish beginning on Thursday and Friday. We had pictures in from Matthews and Thibodaux. And so hopefully, that is going to get better. And so what everybody wants to know about tonight, obviously, is what is going on in the Gulf of Mexico and what, if anything, are we going to have to contend with here as this continues to move to the north very slowly. Now, I just got the 7 o'clock advisory, and I want to point this out. It's not moving now. There's been a stall. It's not moving. It was moving steadily north-northwest at around 13 to 15 miles per hour for most of the day, and now we can see that movement is only at around 2 miles per hour. Now, it's not any stronger. The hurricane hunters are in there right now seeing if it is any stronger. We'll take a look at that. And the position is 260 miles off the mouth of the Rio Grande River, which is basically Brownsville here at the tip of Texas at the Mexican border. So let's go out here. We're going to take it out for like the next 72 hours or so. Again, Nikandra is going to have a brand new track for you on Fox 8 News at 10 o'clock. This is the 4 o'clock track. We just get position updates at 7 o'clock, but a new track will be coming out at 10 o'clock. And so tomorrow afternoon, it could be on the coast. My thinking is it's probably going to be within this cone and still just offshore the Texas coast, and it could be very close to being a hurricane the way it looks right now. And then the forecast, at least as of this afternoon, brought it inland somewhere along the middle Texas coast Monday night into early Tuesday morning as a strong tropical storm. And of course, that also means we have to contend with the possibility that this could be a Category 1 hurricane somewhere along the Texas coast. So that's Monday night, early Tuesday morning. Now it's going to weaken and it's going to move inland, but it's going to slow. And here's what we're going to have to look at. By Wednesday afternoon, it may be a tropical depression, but somewhere here over East Texas or western Louisiana. And that does put us on the eastern side of this system. So if we're looking at a disorganized system, a very broad system, then certainly rain impacts could be a significant consideration here in southeast Louisiana and really even on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, but particularly southeast Louisiana and certainly south central Louisiana. So that's how the next 72 hours could potentially play out. Satellite picture tonight, the center of the storm located right about here. We have a big blow up of thunderstorms just on the northern and eastern side of the center, and some pretty stronger rain bands well off to the north and east, as often the case on these western Gulf of Mexico systems, especially weaker ones like Nicholas is right now. We don't have very much weather on the western end or across South Texas right now. This drier air from Mexico sometimes gets involved, but overall, the environment is favorable in the Gulf of Mexico for Nicholas to get a little bit stronger. Here's one of the big reasons. Yes, there has been some wind shear across the Gulf, but gosh, it is heading into some of the warmest Gulf waters there are. Now, remember, Ida went tearing through here. And so the water is not cold by any means, but it's not super hot conditions like the Western Gulf that basically has not been touched this season. And so this purple area is 87-degree water, and Nicholas is just beginning to move into some of those warmer waters there. We do not have any watches or warnings in effect for Louisiana. We don't have a hurricane watch, tropical storm watch. Everything is focused over on Texas right now. These are the wind watches that are currently in effect. Now, I see this orange area south of Galveston and north of Corpus Christi around Port Lavaca, the Port Aransas area, the middle Texas coast here. This orange area is under a hurricane watch. Corpus Christi, Brownsville is under a tropical storm warning. To just south of Galveston. The Houston area inland is in yellow. It's under a tropical storm watch. So the thinking is that it could be a hurricane by the time it reaches this portion of the Texas coastline, if indeed that is where the landfall ends up being. Here's the latest hurricane hunter that has moved out there. And let me see, Douglas, right, no watches for Louisiana as of now. You'll take it. We'll both take it, but we got to stay vigilant. All right, so this is important. This just happened in the last few minutes. The hurricane hunters found the center right where this red dot is. So they just put down a vortex message, as it's called. And they found winds of 44 miles per hour and a pressure of 1,009. That's not a low pressure, and that is not a high wind. So at least the good news is Nicholas is not any stronger, certainly with a position like this. Now, what we need to watch, and I wasn't able to prepare a wind shear map for you right now, but what we have to watch is if there's any center that tries to reform a little farther to the north and east underneath the bigger thunderstorms here. If that happens, that could alter track and, of course, have an impact on exactly where Nicholas perhaps ends up. But right now, we're going with the idea that this is the center down here. They did find the center there, but it's not any stronger than it was earlier today. Here are the clouds and the radar together, and we've had this band of rain that's been offshore most of the day. Then it moved on shore, and we kind of had kind of light rain, ugly rain. Sort of amazing how yesterday was just incredible, and today turned into a tropical, wet, messy day. But the good news is the really heavy rain bands have so far stayed away from our area and have not really impacted us to any major degree. The heaviest rain bands are off the Texas coast and then still off here in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Here's a closer look at the latest radar locally. See what I'm talking about? This light green, just really kind of pesky light rain, little heavier in Plaquemines Parish. But, you know, we've got all this damage in here, right? We've got exposed roofs. We've got people that haven't even been tarped yet. And so even light rain is a problem. And unfortunately, we're just going to have a wet forecast this week, whether it's a little bit wet or very wet. That's going to be detrimental to a lot of folks. Now, offshore, we'll be watching this for tomorrow morning. Zach Fradella is going to be in the morning. You see this lightning that's going off well to the south here in the Gulf of Mexico? That is really heavy rain. And what we'll have to watch for late tonight and tomorrow is if any of these bands that are still well separated, well north and east of Nicholas, end up moving across parts of the area. Flood risk. We're not in the flood risk. This is for Monday. For tomorrow, the marginal level 1 flood risk just kind of extends into St. Mary Parish and parts of Terrebonne Parish. The thinking is right now is that the heaviest rain tomorrow will be in Texas and southwest Louisiana. Now on Tuesday, as the storm moves inland and maybe scoots a little more to the east, then our threat for heavy rain may go up a bit, and that level 2 slight risk extends into Assumption Parish and western Terrebonne, and then most of the rest of the Fox 8 viewing area has a marginal risk for flooding across the area. How much rain could fall this week? Well, that bright yellow in there, that's where you start talking about over 10 to 15 inches of rain, and this does include the Houston and Galveston area. So that is definitely a concern That's based on a track with the storm coming in toward the middle Texas coast. Now look, it's also calling for really heavy rain potential in southwest Louisiana. What about over our area? Again, we're going to be right on the edge of it here. Now, if we're over in Mississippi, you see the blues and the purples, that's an inch or two. If that's all we get in a week, that's not a problem. But once we start heading farther to the west, we get into the oranges here, then we start talking 2 to locally 5 inches of rain from Baton Rouge to Houma west. Again, this rainfall potential is track dependent, which of course could still change because we have a weak system that is still in the formative stages. Winds right now, no big deal, kind of light southerly winds, but we did have some pretty good wind gusts earlier today. 30 at the airport and 35 was the wind gust at Belle Chase. So we don't have any coastal flood advisories up yet for the Louisiana coast, meaning for some tides running above normal outside the levee protection system. That could come later depending on the track of the storm. If the storm is stronger and stays over water longer, and say we have a landfall along the upper Texas coast, then we would have to worry about rising water more in southeast Louisiana than a storm that comes in a lot further to the south and west. But the storm surge warning is in effect from north of Corpus Christi in the pink area to south of Galveston. That means water 3 feet or higher above ground somewhere in this area, depending on where Nicholas makes landfall. Galveston Bay is under a watch right now, and same for Corpus Christi and Brownsville, for the possibility that the storm could come in farther south or end up coming even farther to the north, which certainly could be a possibility. So I want to go back real quick and again show everybody this is the latest that we got in at 7 p.m., the 7 p.m. advisory. The big change is that the storm is not moving all that much. It's only moving north at 2, and what we'll be watching for is to see if maybe a new center is trying to form under some deeper thunderstorms to the north and east. If that's the reason for the stall, that will have an impact on the track. So I encourage everybody to tune in tonight to Fox 8 News at 9 and 10 with Nicondra Norwood, because she will have the latest track that comes in between 9:45 and 10. And then also, even more importantly, tomorrow morning, beginning at 4:30 in the morning, the Fox 8 Morning Edition with meteorologist Zach Fradella. I see a bunch of folks on here are watching right now. When I get off of this Facebook Live, I will be answering some of your questions this evening and giving you a summary of kind of what I'm thinking might be happening over the next couple of days. But the bottom line tonight is there are no watches or warnings in effect for the Louisiana coastline. Our biggest threat that we see right now is the potential for locally heavy rain and flooding in spots as we go into the work week. Our best chances may be on Tuesday and Wednesday, again, depending on the eventual track and strength of Nicholas, which, because it's a weak storm and still developing, is subject to change. Stay safe, everybody, and how about them Saints?